I'm not sure who is going to lose their job first between DJ Smith and Sheldon Keefe. With both our teams amidst a losing streak, we're breaking down everything from this past week in the NHL, right here, right now, on Between the Dots podcast. Let's go. Episode 6 of Between the Dots podcast. We are into Movember now. Are you going to shave a mustache for Movember, Kijo?
Oh, you're going to put me on the spot? Then yes, I will shave a mustache.
Attaboy. It's and thank you everyone for listening to the podcast. We appreciate the loyal listeners, and we apologize for the delay from last episode. It was kind of a bit of a unique week, and now you're getting a 2-for-1 this week to listen to. So thanks again for listening and supporting us. Make sure to share our videos, and if you'd like to chat, comment, or message us as well. But let's get this show on the road and give you a bit of a recap of what happened last week for the Leafs and for the Sens in our week in, week out.
Yeah, the Sens and the Leafs are in a little bit of a rut right now. That's for sure. We're hoping that they can get out of it as quick as possible.
Yeah. You want to go first?
You had a good start there. Why don't you keep going about the Sens losing streak? It's always good to hear about a Sens losing streak.
So funny. Yeah, so started game 1 last week was at 7 p.m. on Thursday, October 27th versus Minnesota. And in that game, it was a 4-2 loss. It was really 3-2 with an empty net goal. DeBrincat had a goal and an assist that game, and Forsberg stopped 36 to 39 shots. Ottawa that game was outshot 39-29, and this was kind of a theme of this past week, as you'll see. But we had a 2-minute power play, 2:20 left in the game. We pulled the goalie right away, and that's how the Wild score their empty netter. So, whether you agree or disagree with DJ Smith to pull the goalie there, that's up for debate. But personally, myself, I would rather see the Sens take a good minute trying to get something going on the power play before we pull the goalie. The second game of the week was 7 p.m. on Saturday, October 29th versus Florida. That was the Battle of the Kachucks, and there the Sens lost again that game, 5-3. Again, it was really 4-3 with an empty net goal. Another close, tough loss. Forsberg stopped 53 of 57 shots that night. He made a ton of saves. So
good night for him. They
yeah,
still couldn't get the win. That's got to be tough for the goalie.
Yeah, exactly. And another thing that night was Zaitsev. He's back in the lineup for all these games, by the way. And the Sens are winless with him in the lineup. Zaitsev that night had 19 minutes of time on ice, and he went -1. Pinto, on the positive side of things, had a goal that game, so he keeps his good rookie campaign going. The third game of the week was 7 p.m. Tuesday, November 1st against Tampa. That was a 4-3 loss. This one was really tough to see because we had this game in the bag almost. Like we were up leading 2-1 in the third, then we were leading 3-2 with 7 minutes left, and a lot of good things happened that game. Matthew Joseph had a nice goal against his former team, showing off his speed. But on the negative side of things, it was just like you have this lead and we blow it, and Zaitsev is just awful. I'm so done with him. I don't know why he even gets on the ice. He's a complete liability, and enough is enough, DJ Smith. That's who it falls back on, is DJ Smith. And you got to figure it out, or honestly, it's going to cost you your job. I mean, we had this game, and he throws out Zaitsev, and Zaitsev pressures a guy behind the goal line, and the guy passes it right through him to the open man out front. The most dangerous guy on the ice is the guy out front of the net. That's who's going to score, not the guy behind the goal line. And last night he played 19 minutes, and that's just too much, and we'll get into it a little more as well in this episode about that. Long story short, Tampa takes the lead 4-3 late in the game, and it's a Tampa Bay win. So again, we were heavily outshot that game. You can't blame the refs for anything. So that was basically our week there.
Well, if you thought that the Sens had a rough week, I'm going to one-up you with a 4-game losing streak. Also, listening to you talk about the Sens there, at least they were playing good teams. They were losing to good teams, like Tampa and Florida. Like,
That's true.
if you're the Leafs, you go out on that tough Western road trip, which you thought would be harder when the Ducks were good and San Jose was good. They were making like Stanley Cup final runs and all those teams were good. But now you're going out there to face, like I said, the Ducks, the Sharks, and the Kings. And the Kings are good, but, well, they're getting better. They got a lot of young players. But you come out of there and you don't win one. They lose on, we mentioned this last week, but they lost to begin the road trip in Vegas. And then Thursday, October 27th, they had a tough 4-3 loss in San Jose. On Saturday, October 29th, they had a 4-2 loss in Los Angeles. And then they finished it up with another 4-3 loss in Anaheim on Sunday. There's a lot of things that I don't really understand from these games. The first one is you played Monday night against Vegas, so you don't play until Thursday. I'm not sure why Källgren gets to start Thursday night following a loss on Monday in Vegas. I know that Samsonov lost Monday in Vegas, but whether the teams are good or not, you're still on a road trip, and it's harder to win on the road than it is at home. So you want to win those games. And I get Matt Murray's hurt right now, so you only really have Samsonov as like a legit NHL goalie, because Källgren, in my opinion, isn't an NHL goalie. He's their third goalie, like a lot of teams' goalies. He's not the strongest, but I think you could change the whole road trip with, if you play, not that it was Källgren's fault, but...
Do you think that they were just trying to rest Samsonov?
Yeah, but like Monday, it's not even like it's the usual, like you play Tuesday night and Thursday night. Like they played Monday night, so they had Tuesday,
so you think
Wednesday,
he's got enough rest in between there, and it's just, yeah.
For sure, especially like if we're talking like if it's March, okay, I get it. But like it's October, and I know, okay, it's, you don't want to, like, if he gets hurt, okay, it looks bad because then you're literally just rolling with Källgren. But I just think, like I was saying, all the players on the team would probably grip their sticks a little harder, knowing like, okay, we got to be 100% good defensively. Like we can't let anything, we can't have them have any quality shots, because every team has confidence in their goalie. But as you get further down the depth chart, the confidence might be a little less and less. But like I said, it wasn't Källgren's fault. So then you move into Saturday, the 4-2 loss in LA. This is the one that Samsonov played, and LA was ready for the Leafs this game. It was funny to see the Leafs sporting their Bieber jerseys out there in LA. It's funny when you think about how the NHL has control over things. Like the Leafs come into LA for a 4:00 local start in LA, and they make LA wear their white jerseys so they can wear their Bieber jerseys. It's like in Los Angeles, that was just funny to see. But nonetheless, the jersey switch didn't help them at all, because they couldn't win that game. And then the worst loss of the whole road trip was the 4-3 loss on Sunday in Anaheim. You get a quick goal to start the third on a nice 2-on-1 with Kerfoot and Järnkrok. They make it 3-1. Okay, you're thinking the Ducks are not good offensively. They've got like the worst numbers in the league in terms of goals for. They don't get any quality chances, and then Kerfoot gets hauled down on a breakaway, which the Leafs got a break in this game, because there's a very similar play to where a Ducks player got hauled down and there's no penalty shot, just a penalty, and the Ducks were like 0 for 21 on the power play at this point. So you can see their coach is wondering why there's no penalty shot, and then sure enough, in the third period, the Leafs get one. Kerfoot misses on the penalty shot, keeps it 3-1, so it could have been 4-1. And before you know it, the Ducks storm back, tie it 3-3, and then they actually score to go ahead 4-3 in regulation. But Sheldon Keefe challenges for goaltender interference. And honestly, with these goaltender interference plays, I think that they all just get together in Toronto. They flip a coin and say, all right, you guys want this goal to count? We'll flip this coin and see what happens. Like, yeah, I'm not sure if you saw that play, Felix, but there's no goaltender interference on that play.
Who knows what goaltender interference is now anymore in the NHL?
Like, it's insane. You'll see a goalie get hit, and then they score, and they're like, no, sorry, he could have avoided it or something like that. And then you see a play like that. Like, so regardless, they disallow that goal. They go to overtime, and then you have Kerfoot and Nylander kind of cheating a bit offensively for an offensive zone draw. And then sure enough, Ducks come back 2-on-1 the other way, and Zegras scores to win the game 4-3. So thanks to the NHL for giving the Leafs a point there when they didn't deserve any. But I don't know. They're the Leafs are in a tough spot right now.
That's a tough collapse late.
You got the incident with Marner as well too. Marner had 2 very bad turnovers in that game, both resulting in Ducks goals. And I mean, your star players, they have a lot of skilled plays they do in the game, but sometimes these skilled plays don't work out. And for Marner in those 2 instances, they obviously didn't work out with the Ducks scoring on them. But you see Sheldon Keefe call a timeout, call him out on the bench. He walks down the hallway, breaks his stick, comes back, and it's tough because for Sheldon Keefe, he took 1 shift away from Marner. And I understand where he's coming from, because if you lose that game, which they did, and you don't play Marner the rest of the third, what do you, like, the media is going to say, hey, how come you didn't play Marner the rest of the third? Because he had 2 bad giveaways? He's one of your best players. Like, you got to play him when you're tied or down a goal. Like,
I don't know. I disagree. I think Sheldon Keefe made the wrong choice putting him back in. I think he should have sent him a message and send a message to the team that, guys, this is unacceptable to play like this. And this is why I sat him. And that was my choice to sit him. Like, I get, you got to face the noise after the game and all that. But, like,
I just, like, okay, the Leafs missed the playoffs by 1 point. And you think back, oh, remember when Sheldon Keefe didn't play Marner in that third period when they were tied?
But he did. He did, though. But he did.
No, I know, but that's what I'm saying. That's why I think he played him, because if you don't, like, I don't know, it just could come back on the coach. And it's tough there, because you're damned if you do and damned if you don't. Because
that's right.
If you play him, the media is going to say, hey, how come you played him when he had those 2 terrible turnovers? And then if you don't play him, it's like, hey, you guys lost and you didn't have your best player on the ice. Like, well, one of your best players. Like, why'd that happen? Like, it's a lose-lose situation.
That's so right.
Regardless, it was a tough road trip, but they're back on home ice tonight. Hopefully get things turned around against the Flyers.
Nice. Yeah, that'll be a big one. Flyers they've been looking all right so far this year, right? Like, they got a new head coach, John Tortorella, and he's obviously doing some good things with them.
They have, and like, from Carter Hart has been outstanding. He's been the goalie that a lot of people thought that he would be when he came into the NHL. Like, he struggled a lot, but this year he's been unbelievable. Last night the Flyers lost 1-0 to the Rangers in overtime. It's tough when you lose 1-0 in a game in overtime, and you just think, like, well, I did everything I could, boys, so you couldn't get 1 goal for me. Like, feel bad for him, but yeah, no, they've been off to a good start.
Nice. What else is on tap for the Leafs this week?
So this coming week, they have, like mentioned, home Wednesday, November 2nd to Philly. And then Saturday, they have, on November 5th, they're home to the Bruins. That'll be a good matchup.
That will be a good
Saturday night in Toronto against Boston. Then they play back-to-back nights. Sunday night, they're in Carolina. So
that'll be a tough one.
Yeah, if you think about the road trip they were just on and those teams, and you can't win those games, you'd think it's going to be tough to come home and win 1 or 2 of the Boston, Carolina back-to-back. And then Tuesday, November 8th, they're home to Vegas. So
Vegas is not going to get too.
It's not going to get any easier for the Leafs, so they got to bear down and get some wins here, especially at home.
Those are all tough games, actually. For Ottawa this week, they have Vegas on Thursday night on November 3rd. That's a home game. We also play the Flyers this week. That's on Saturday, November 5th. And then they play Vancouver on Tuesday, November the 8th. And all 3 of those games are home games. So it's going to be nice coming back home after that Florida trip didn't go so well with losses to 2 tough Atlantic teams. And yeah, we're going to get it going back home again and hopefully figure it out and our offense right now, we have the fifth most Ottawa's offense right now has the fifth highest goals per game in the NHL, but they also have the 21st worst goals against per game in the NHL. So they got a lot to work on still. And coaching is one of those things that they need to work on as well, at least in my opinion.
So just taking a look here at the through the first few weeks of the season, the scoring leaders in the NHL. Surprise, surprise, Connor McDavid leading the way with 22 points. And right behind him with 21 points, Leon Draisaitl. David Pastrnak been solid for the Bruins. He's third in the NHL in points right now with 18. And then a little bit of a surprise here, New Jersey Devils forward Jesper Bratt with 16. He's in fourth place, and then tied with Bratt in fourth is Artemi Panarin with 16 points as well. Any of those surprise you at all in any way, Felix, or anything?
The first two obviously are pretty predictable, McDavid and Draisaitl, but I think after that, the next three that you mentioned, Pastrnak, and especially Bratt as well, is just surprising. I mean, last year, I guess the Devils were trying to lock him up for 8 years, and he was like, I'm going to take a 1-year deal on a prove it year, and he's really showing his stuff right now. So he's looked good and playing with Jack Hughes. So I think, just another tough team now to face in the Eastern Conference. They're looking good as well. And then, Panarin, obviously, and Pastrnak, both those guys are good players. And now we have a special guest on the show for the very first time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Max, the cat. Look at him play. A life. What a life. Oh, you heard something.
Yeah, you definitely hear Max talk from time to time in the episodes, that's for sure.
He just likes to put his opinion in on things.
Yes, he does. So we're going to jump into the burning questions segment now. This is just where me and Felix will ask each other a few questions and opinions on our teams or other teams around the NHL as well. The first question I have for you, you touched on it earlier. Do you think the Sens need to look elsewhere for a coaching option?
Absolutely, they do. And for a few reasons. First thing is DJ was never a head coach before he was in Ottawa. He was an assistant coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if you think that the Leafs ex-assistant coach is going to be the guy to take you to win a playoff round, you are sadly mistaken. And from the get-go, I figured they were eventually going to need to move on from DJ Smith. I've been saying it for the past year now that they need to move on from him. It's not just the fact that his overall winning record isn't good. It's not just that. It's his in-game management of players. For example, Nikita Zaitsev playing 19 minutes last game and Nick Holden playing 22 when Jake Sanderson only plays 17. That doesn't make sense. That shouldn't happen. It's the way he manages games as well with, as I mentioned earlier, with pulling the goalie with 2 minutes left, 2:20 left on that power play, rather than keeping him in and letting his guys work. Another thing, too, I've noticed this year is we're not using DeBrincat properly on the power play. He's an elite sniper. He just hasn't gotten it going this year because we're not putting him in positions to succeed on the power play. I watched him last night, and he's not even on his off wing on the power play. He's on his on wing on the right side, where Josh Norris would normally be. And we got to move him around and put him in this, as the bumper man in the slot. This guy's got a wicked shot, and the way they're using him is just not good. And we also have more than capable. If you're saying, well, Zaitsev's playing this many minutes, maybe it's because you don't have anybody else, or maybe it's because of his contract. We have two guys in the minors by the names of Lassie Thompson and Jacob Bernard Docker. Both were first-round picks. Both have played NHL games last year, and both are better defensemen than Nikita Zaitsev. So there's no excuse as to why DJ Smith is continuing to play him. It is brutal. So yes, they need a coaching change. And to start, there is lots of great coaches on the market. One by the name of Barry Trotz, that's the obvious one. But I look at other teams that had coaching changes this past year. Philly made a coaching change. Look how well they're doing right now. Detroit made a coaching change over the summer. Look how well they're doing right now. Even a team like the Bruins made a coaching change over the summer, and look how well they're doing right now. You need, if guys aren't getting the message and buying into the systems that are in place, this job in the NHL is not a right that you should be able to keep it. You need to show that you can succeed, and because there should be a ton of other guys that are coming for your job, and DJ Smith has had more than enough time to go through this rebuild and show that he needs to have a winning record. If he can't have a winning record this year, he's done. So, and I think that needs to happen soon.
Do you think that it's tough for them to look elsewhere for a coach or move on at all because they know that DJ Smith's been here through the hard times, and they kind of think, okay, you were here when the team was not good. They're getting better, so we want to give you a chance as they get better. But I don't know.
I do think it's some of that, but kind of back to the point, this is the NHL. There should not be, you're not paid to lose. You're not. So if now it's time for us to win, it doesn't matter if we shouldn't at least give him a benefit of the doubt. It's time to win and prove it. And even look at Boston, they lost in the first round of the playoffs last year. They still fired their coach and got a new coach. So it obviously the Sens believe in DJ Smith, but I think the players, more importantly than the ownership and management, need to believe in DJ Smith, and I'm just not seeing it with the systems they're playing. They're horrible in the defensive zone. They play a dump and chase style game now still when they have all these skilled guys, and he's a first-time head coach, and we shouldn't be giving him the benefit of the doubt much longer.
Yeah, no, I agree.
And I don't mind the guy. He's a great players coach. He was a great coach for Ottawa to have through the rebuild and through everything, but it's just time to make a change.
Trotz Watch. It's on in Ontario, everyone. Toronto and Ottawa.
Yeah, there's quite the coaching dilemma going on with the Leafs right now as well. That kind of goes right into my question as well. I was going to ask you, who do you think will lose their job first? Sheldon Keefe or DJ Smith, or neither?
That's a tough question because we've mentioned this I've mentioned this again and again throughout the episodes. Kyle Dubas just loves his guys. He's got his guys, and he loves them, whether it's a player or a coach. So if Sheldon Keefe is going to lose his job, I think that Kyle Dubas is also going to lose his job. I think it might come from a Brendan Shanahan who says, okay, these two, it's not working for us, but can you do that in season? Fire your general manager and your head coach? I don't know. It's tough for a team that wants to make a playoff run. I know they can't get out of the first round, but they're in win now mode, and they have been for a while, and they haven't won anything. But I would love to see Barry Trotz in Toronto. He's a great coach. He's up on the all-time wins list for coaches near the top.
He took the Islanders recently to 2 Stanley Cup conference finals appearances. So
yeah, no, exactly. It's just tough the way the media goes about it in Toronto. I don't like the way Sheldon Keefe handles some things. They say, he calls out his top players, then he goes back and apologizes. I don't know what you're doing there. You're either calling them out or just stick with. You clearly felt that way. You got to stick with it. When the media brings it up again, you got to say yeah, no, they weren't good. Bottom line, they weren't good. Move on. But then with the Marner thing, it's the same thing. It's the on-ice version of him backing up his comments from the media after the game. It's oh no, you could sit one shift, just so it looks like I tried. And then he goes to the media the next day and says he just wanted to give Malkin another look. Nobody believes that. I don't even know why you say that, but
yeah.
if there's one of those two coaches who's going to lose their job first, I honestly think it's Sheldon Keefe. They say it's always right up until they get fired. They ask the coach or the GM, do you think there's an issue? Do you think there's an issue? And it's always no, 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 no. Even if it's the day before they fire him, do you think there's an issue? Nope. They'll say there's no issue, and then the next day they fire him. So honestly, these next few games are huge for the Leafs. They got to win. I don't know. You got to win at least 3 of the 5. Maybe if you only win 2, you're still not going to fire your coach, but I would not be upset with a coaching change in Toronto.
Yeah. It's like with Sheldon Keefe, he's lost a couple playoff series, which like doesn't look good on his resume. He hasn't really proven much at the NHL level as a coach, as a head coach. So it's like bringing in an experienced guy possibly might be better for this group. And the main thing is like blowing leads. Like you got to find a way to, as a coach, to put a system in place that doesn't allow you to blow leads, or that like instills confidence that the players can close out this game. And that comes all the way down to like playoff series too. Like if the Leafs were up 3-1 to the Habs, like you need a coach that can try to put in a system and implement a system that helps you win that playoff series. And it's like, we'll see what happens with both our team's coaches. But I mean,
I hate the narrative too. They go back to like anytime you ask, Kyle Dubas gets asked about it. It's no, Sheldon's been a very successful coach with us in the regular season. Like, look at his record throughout the. If I was the coach of the Leafs, they would have that record. Like Austin Matthews, yeah. Mitch Marner, Tavares, Nylander. Like, obviously, you've got a good record. You've got a lot of elite talent. Like,
yeah. But what matters is crunch time when it comes down to playoffs and late games when teams are giving it their all and you're trying to hold off leads. And even like last year, like if you probably remember when the Sens came back on the Leafs from being 5 goals down, and they end up that was the game Zub had his little deke. You remember that?
I do remember that.
Yeah. So, but that's like there's been a proven history of like not being able to hold on to leads, and Ottawa so far this year is kind of getting into the same path as not being able to hold on to these leads so far in third periods, and like that's always a sign of a really good team and a well-coached team. It's like those teams that at the end of the year, their record is like 19-1 when leading heading into the third period or something like ridiculously high. So it's like, I don't know if it's coming down to coaches or if like somebody though has to be held accountable for it.
Yeah, I guess we'll see if any teams, whether it's the Sens or the Leafs, move on from their coach. But yeah, Dubas, I'm available to coach.
I do have coaching experience and a little bit of general manager experience too, playing NHL, EA Sports, by the way, so in franchise mode. But
also, I'm back-to-back winners in my fantasy hockey league, so that's got to mean something.
Yeah, it shows you know how to assemble a lineup.
For sure. The next question I got 2 here. I'll let you pick which one you want to answer. The first one's kind of tough because it's more of just a guess. But do you think there's any teams that will shake things up in terms of players in the near future in the NHL, just with a trade? And the other one is, what do you think of the hot start from former Sen Erik Carlson?
I'll answer the first one quick. I think it'll take a few more, at least like another month before we see like a trade happening. I think teams just want to see what they have first and maybe like try different combinations on their lines before we see a trade happen. But on Erik Carlson, that's just great to see. Like, this guy is 100%, in my opinion, Hall of Famer. He has 2 Norris trophies to his resume, and this guy was dominant, obviously, when he was in Ottawa, and it's so good to see him like getting back to his game, leading his team. And because that's what he was in Ottawa, and it does like make me miss him, make me want to get him back. But at the same time, it's nice to see he's back healthy again, because that was the biggest thing for him, was he just wasn't healthy. He was hurt, and when his time in Ottawa came to an end, he was like expected to just quickly go to San Jose and do amazing things. But he went through some things and he battled injuries, and now it's nice to see him doing what he's doing. Obviously, first in defenseman scoring right now.
Could you imagine what the Sens would look like if they had Erik Carlson on their number one power play right now?
I know. And there were rumors.
Try not to tear up. I just wanted to ask.
Well, there were rumors of the Sens trying to make a trade for him back last summer, like back when his value was so low. Now his value is all the way back up again because the way he's playing. But at the same time, we wouldn't have like Stützle and Josh Norris. So anytime I get sad about the Carlson leaving, I just look at the guys who we have now playing for us, and it makes me feel better.
That's fair.
It does.
It's always fun to think, though, what it would be like to see him there right now.
And as good as Shabbat is, he is nowhere close to Erik Carlson. Not even on the same level at all.
Yeah, there's not a lot that really comes close to Erik Carlson in his prime. You think of like Cale Makar, obviously right now is elite, but Erik Carlson in his prime is...
Yep. Also has a silver medal to his name from the Olympics. He's, in my opinion, should for sure be a Hall of Famer. And if he potentially has a Norris finalist nomination this year, that's just going to add to it. And like if you look at his point totals, he has 675 points in 850 games. That is
as a defenseman.
Fantastic ratio for a defenseman. And in years when he was with Ottawa, he had 1 year 82 points in 82 games, led the Sens in points. The next year 71 and 77 as well. And he had another year where he had 74, another year with 66 and 62 as well. He was a point machine. He was our offense in those years. He was the player that he was the captain as well, which is another case for his Hall of Fame career, right?
You wonder too if it has anything to do with Brent Burns leaving.
Possibly. Yep.
Whether it's he doesn't feel as much pressure, he doesn't have to compete with this guy. Not that they were competing because they're teammates, but it's just something to think about too. You think with Brent,
for sure, opening up
Brent
ice
Burns
time
leaving.
too on the power play, that's now his defense to run. There's no more Brent Burns in the way of him on that team. Should he be in the Hall of Fame? So he's making a case for it this year again.
It just sucks that he's doing it in San Jose.
Yeah, I know. I wish he could do it in the Sens jersey. I wish. 15 points in 12 games, leading all defensemen with 9 goals right now. Great start for him, which is good to see.
It's got to be painful as a Sens fan to see him doing what he's doing now, but then you got to, like you said, think back to having Stützle and Norris now. You can't.
It's like an amicable breakup, though. We were on okay terms when he left, and, it's good to see him doing good things now in life. And good to see him doing those good things.
Max, see, he's being a good kitty now, just watching.
So now we're going to do a little Saturday night special where we just give you 3 picks as to who's going to win come this Saturday. The first one, Kijo, you had that pick. Who was it?
I'm taking 1,000% the Leafs over the Bruins. They're winning. The Leafs play good against good teams, so hopefully they can pull out a win there, and I am confident that they can.
That's it. That's the good sign of a true Leafs fan, is the unwavering, blinded confidence, even amidst all the losing, that they're going to win against Boston, who's been a great team this year. There it is. That's one of the picks. Second pick, going to be the Sabres over the Lightning. So
yeah, I'm sure there's people who don't agree with us on this one, but honestly, the Sabres have been good. They got Tage Thompson with a 6-point night the other night. And the Lightning, with a bit of a Stanley Cup hangover, they're not firing on all cylinders. So, I like it. The Sabres over the Lightning.
Yep, I agree with that one. I would say the Sens over the Flyers, but I do not have confidence in the Sens right now. They're dealing without Josh Norris, life without Josh Norris, and life without Artem Zub still. So, hopefully by me saying this will help them to victory over the Flyers on Saturday night. But I'm not putting them in this bet here. So last one I think would be a good pick would be Edmonton over Dallas.
Yeah, Jake Ottinger is on the shelf right now with an injury. So I'm sure McDavid and Draisaitl are just ready to feast on Scott Wedgwood. Even though he's a good goalie, the the guys that are 1-2 in points in the NHL, I'm sure they'll put up a few. So, yeah, Edmonton over Dallas for sure.
Yep. So running it back, we have the Oilers over the Stars. We have the Sabres over the Lightning. And we have the Leafs over the Bruins. Big Saturday night special. So that's a wrap for episode 6 of Between the Dots podcast. Before we go, Kijo, did you see any NHL Halloween outfits that impressed you?
Oh, without a doubt, Brady Tkachuk.
Really?
That was unbelievable.
The elf costume. Yeah, that was a nice outfit. Did you see Devin Shore went as Jim from the Office, and his wife went as Pam? That was another good one that I liked as well.
I don't know if I saw that one, but there's another one. I forget who it was, but they were Ricky Bobby from Talladega Nights. That was a good one.
How many wins are we thinking from the Leafs this week?
Over the 4 games, I want to say 3, but I think they're going to split.
We'll see. Anyways, we hope you enjoy your week, everyone. Thanks for listening and thanks for supporting. Make sure to share our videos, and again, if you'd like to chat, just comment on our videos or directly message us, and we'd love to hear feedback or just interact with you in general. So thank you again for supporting and listening, and look forward to next time.
See you next week. Go Leafs, go.
Go Sens, go.